Now, let's talk about how Zycus and the Mentor Network are collaborating to reimagine the next generation of P2P with an innovation in guided buying. Joining us again will be Richard Waugh, who's the Vice President of Corporate Development at Zycus, and Scott Fitzgerald, who's the Procurement Director for the Mentor Network. Please welcome Richard and Scott.
So, the topic for today, P2P Reimagined. No user pain, but real compliance gains. So the idea is, we've all heard from an exercising standpoint, no pain, no gain. But here the idea with P2P is have your cake and eat it too, quite frankly. Give users what they want in terms of ease of use. Make it easier for them to do the right thing and comply to drive adoption. So my agenda for this morning, I think, is always helpful. I know Alex talked about the importance of benchmarking to kind of start to set the playing field with what is the world-class performance? What are we aspiring to? And then look at the process, the P2P process, and what I'll call the happy path, when everything goes exactly according to plan. Only problem is there's some detours along the way to the happy path that are not so happy, and how do you deal with those? Because the P2P process is a little bit of a misnomer. It's actually multiple processes because of the different types of indirect goods and services and the different buy-pay channels used to order those. And then I'll walk you through the case for what we call guided buying. So guiding the users along that path, be it happy or less than happy, to do the right thing, to comply and drive adoption. And then we'll talk about how the Mentor Network is reimagining procure-to-pay in their organization and going along, let's hope, a very happy path for them. So I'm going to share with you a lot of numbers here, and these come courtesy of my friend Chris Sawchuk here from Hackett Group. They actually published the book of numbers, so they got a lot of them. And just looking real quickly then at what is state-of-the-art for P2P efficiency and then effectiveness. So efficiency we kind of measure here in terms of transactional volume. So the world-class performers, the ones in blue, are doing better than 80% of those transactions. POs are automated, and the more you automate them, the more it means they're going to be perfect orders the first time, so better than 90% that don't require rework. Still not quite Six Sigma performance where it's a few defects per million, but better than 90% don't require rework. And then it kind of ripples through. So if you have higher quality orders with more automation, the odds are that the invoice that's going to come back from those suppliers is more likely to match on the first pass. So better than 90% first pass match for the world-class performers. And if you can go through that invoice matching process faster and more accurately, the odds are you're going to be able to take advantage of prompt payment discounts more frequently than the rest of the peer group. And world-class organizations also have more accurate purchase transactions going through their P2P systems that gives them line item spend visibility to see actually what they're purchasing. That flows back into the sourcing process to make better decisions. So the next view here, and I changed the color scheme just to make sure you are awake. So in this model, the peer group is in blue, and now the world class is in gold, and we're looking at cycle times. So obviously a wide discrepancy between a PO-based invoice approval process that takes 15 days, for the peer group only 3 days, so 5 times better improvement or thereabouts, and less than a day for a catalog request for world class, and about 2 days for an ad hoc or non-catalog requisition. So to net it out for you, the world class, 80% or more POs automated and early payment discounts taken and line item visibility better than 90%, POs processed accurately and invoices matched on the first pass, and overall transaction cycle times that are 40 to 80% better than the rest of the market. So now I'll share with you effectiveness, and this is where we're going to measure the contribution. So I think, again, this is Hackett data, and I think they do a good job of looking at both the savings contributed and then the cost from a procurement process standpoint of delivering those savings. So the difference then, or the calculation, is return on investment. And in this case, you can see an ROI for the world class that's nearly 10 times. So going to a CFO and saying I can deliver 10 times return on investment from a process cost standpoint because we can achieve a world-class type of automation is really a compelling story. And overall, 3 times higher ROI at 20% lower cost. So you're delivering 3 times more savings, and yet you're a more efficient 20% lower process cost. And most of those costs, 3/4, are actual hard dollar cost savings, and the rest being cost avoidance. So that's it for the numbers, but that kind of sets the stage for what are we aspiring to if we want to be world-class in this area. And wouldn't it be nice if every requisition followed this happy path? Okay, so we're starting with a requisitioner shopping from a catalog, which by definition is, on contract at negotiated prices. So you're starting along this path with a compliant transaction. Then you got an automated workflow process to enable a touchless purchase order. Not having to have procurement intervention if you know that it's an approved vendor at negotiated prices. And then you're transmitting electronically. So sending to your suppliers a CXML or an EDI PO, or if they're not e-commerce capable, at least delivering it through a portal where they can come and retrieve and confirm your PO, flip it to an invoice, etc. Receiving, you're always receiving the goods as they're delivered. You get an e-invoice back from the supplier. So we're taking, to Debbie's point, whoever had the goal of taking paper out of the business, maybe it wasn't the right goal, but this is the way to do it by making all these transactions electronic, auto-matching of the invoice, and then a payment, again, electronically through an electronic funds transfer or P card. So wouldn't it be nice if this is the way the P2P process worked every time? Now, unfortunately, there are detours along this happy path, and I think the first one I'll mention is where there's a need for a guided path, because it's not that simple. Let's say it's an off-catalog but on-contract purchase. So this is something other than a standard widget or commodity product. It's a service, or it's a non-standard product, configurable product. And the challenge here is that for the top performers, so even the world class, have only 23% of spend that goes to a standard catalog transaction and 42% of their transactions. So that means 77% is off catalog, and for the peer group, it's much higher. It's 94%. That's not going to follow that simple happy path. The next one, a path where a buyer does need to intervene and guide the user along the way on the path. And this is one that's fraught with potential for peril in the form of maverick spending, leaving a user to their own devices to go pick their own supplier. And maybe he happens to be a brother-in-law or somebody they know from the club, off catalog and off contract. And this data just shows you a wide discrepancy in terms of the potential for lost savings, where at the top quartile they're only losing 1.6% of negotiated savings, but almost 10% lost due to maverick spending in the bottom quartile. So significant potential for maverick spend, 6 times higher lost savings rate for worst performers when users go off the rails. They're not guided along that path. And the last one I'll call the breadcrumb path, because when you get to the end of it, you have to go back and find the breadcrumbs to figure out where you went wrong to begin with, because these are the no PO invoices. Now this is where control was lost from the very beginning. You don't learn about a purchase transaction until the invoice shows up, and you're going back to find the breadcrumbs to say who approved this. And this is very high incidence really across the board, 38% in the peer group, but still better than 1 in 5, even for world-class organizations, are no PO invoices. So higher no PO means less control, and it's still a high incidence across the board. So we'd like to talk about reimagining P2P and the case for guided buying. And here we're using the metaphor of a GPS for procure-to-pay, in this case a guided procurement system. So Don, if you get this message, still can't find what you're looking for, in your case a suitable husband, you'd click on Guide Me. We'd actually link you to Match.com, and then you'd put it in your shopping cart and place the order. But I'd also share with you one other concept in the procurement world, which is don't focus just on the initial purchase price, but total cost of ownership. So I'll come up on my 30th anniversary, And my wife knows there are very high maintenance costs for the total cost of ownership over the lifetime. So what we want to accomplish with guided buying is drive a compliant process. A compliant spend, yes, but a compliant process right from the very beginning by steering users to approved suppliers and the appropriate buy-pay channel, the right way to buy from that supplier. Simplifying the user experience to drive adoption, and really along the way achieve world-class performance, get the benefit of accurately coded and classified transactions. So this is where we've repurposed our patented artificial intelligence to auto-classify, in this case, not after the fact when the spend has already occurred, but now at the point of requisition. So you've got an accurately coded and classified transaction right from the very beginning in a more perfect process. So I'll just give you a sense of what that looks like. And I like to do that from the user's perspective, because too often we don't think about what do the users really want. Because if they don't come and play, if we build it and they don't come, the benefits won't accrue. It's really about adoption. So here what users want, to simplify it, they want Amazon shopping and Google search, in an enterprise model. So they want to be able to do a one-stop shop, multiple search and compare. And it starts right here with the search bar. And I've shown you an example here that shows you the perils of a simple keyword search. So if I were looking for something like a blade, and I just type that in, actually that could be a cutting tool, that could be a server, that could be an external drive, it could be roller blades if I was a little bit more flexible and nimble, but any of those could be potential choices. And here the user is really driven to select the appropriate category right from the beginning, so they're getting only relevant search results. So user satisfaction and the user experience starts with that initial search and being able to find what they really need very quickly. Then they want to go on and select. They want to be able to comparison shop, side by side, various products, filter those results very quickly on price or manufacturer or whatever it happens to be. And also we want to be able to highlight to them ways to influence buying behavior. So highlight or flag preferred vendors, green products, whatever that happens to be. That's the selection phase. Now when we go off that happy path, when it's not on the catalog, navigation becomes critical. Because in most cases, users are left to their own devices in really a blank free-form requisition. The difference in guided buying is really steering that user along this guided path. And here you've got an example of various pre-configured guided forms. When I want to buy something, a service or a configurable product that's not in the catalog, we're going to drive that process and make sure it's purchased from an approved vendor and it's a compliant process as well. So here I get a form, a guided form, and you notice the focus is on minimizing guesswork and keystrokes. So drop down, check boxes, those kinds of things, that if I'm leasing equipment, I can specify what type of equipment, what type of lease arrangement, etc. So that's going to simplify the process both for the requisitioner, and imagine you're the buyer that may have to go source this item if it's not on contract currently. Having an accurate set of specifications coming from the requester is going to make your job easier and reduce the back and forth. Then at checkout, users want to finish this shopping experience quickly and get on about their jobs. This is not what they're paid to do, to buy stuff. So a quick checkout process where most of this information, really virtually all of it, is pre-defaulted for the user. So they don't have to think about what's the accounting code to charge, what's the commodity, what's the cost center, all those kinds of things, what's the approval path. They can edit that and change it if they need to, but it's reducing that overhead for the user at checkout. Then there's visibility. One of the biggest frustrations for requisitioners is I hit that key and it goes into the black hole. I don't know where it's going in the approval process, what the status is. So here they've got visibility to who's going to need to approve that requisition, where it is in the process, and also feedback on what the budget availability is based on my purchase request. The last one here is mobility. So when you're talking about procure-to-pay, it's not just the end user requisitioners, it's all the approvers in the chain based on the type of category that's being purchased that may need to sign off. Now, what are the odds that they're all going to be in their office, sitting at their desk, waiting for this requisition to show up? Not very good. So here, mobility comes into play. So an approver can get that requisition right in their smartphone and review the details of the shopping cart itself, make any comments, and approve or reject that requisition right from their smartphone device without logging into the application. So you're really engaging users from the very beginning, guiding them along the path. So this is how we've reimagined procure-to-pay. And what I want to do now is bring up Scott Fitzgerald. He's the Director of Procurement at the Mentor Network, and he's going to share with you their experience of how they've reimagined procure-to-pay in their organization to make a difference. Scott. There you are.
Thank you. Hello, as I said, I'm Scott Fitzgerald, Director of Procurement for Mentor. And I first wanted to kind of give you a little overview of Mentor. We're a health and human services company, probably we're $1.2 billion in revenue, so we're probably the largest health and human services company you've never heard of. And what we pride ourselves on is our mission of providing key services to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, children with emotional and behavioral challenges, people also that have brain and spinal cord injuries. And we provide these through a number of methods. In foster care, we help to identify, locate, train, and support foster parents. We provide day programs for these individuals where they come in for the day, get their treatment, their programs. We also purchase and operate group homes where we have, as states close their institutions, we assimilate these people into group homes so they get to learn to be able to support themselves, potentially get jobs, and become part of the community. And we also have some facilities for people when recovering from brain and spinal cord injuries. As I mentioned, we've in 34 states, we have over 27,000 employees, over 2,700 locations, and as you can imagine, the locations are being added and removed constantly. We've got a 42% turnover rate in the field, so there's 27,000 employees and it turns over at 42%, so you can just imagine training issues. And we provide our services under these 4 brands. It's Mentor, REM, which is based out of Edina, Minnesota, just outside of Minneapolis, Neurorestorative, which is based out of Boston along with Mentor, and Care Meridian, which is based out of California. I just wanted, one thing, we're a very mission-based organization. Everybody is there to provide the end services to our patients. And so from a procurement perspective, every dollar I can save goes around and can be used to provide services to these individuals who greatly need them. So I just want to also put up the website. If you know anybody that is interested in becoming a care provider, a foster parent, or somebody that may need our assistance, you can just reach out directly through this website. So I came to the Mentor Network about 1.5 years ago, and at that time we went through and looked at what Mentor was doing. There were no assigned commodities to any of the staff. If you needed procurement's help, you called the same person you knew, for everything. There were only 13 contracts that were documented that procurement was managing. There was a $200 million addressable spend, or what I call sourceable spend, the way I defined it. And out of that, only $36 million was going through procurement. And they also had consistently every year a $2.5 million savings, which they somehow managed to hit on the nose every year. There are 24,000 purchase orders processed a year, made up from 18,000 requisitions. And you can see right here is the opportunity. For those 24,000 purchase orders, there were 529,000 payment transactions going through accounts payable. All paper-based, all red stamp, have 10 people sign it, send it in the mail, and you can imagine with the 2,700 locations and 27,000 employees, we're keeping the U.S. Postal Service in business. The other challenge that we have is because of our geographical dispersity, the systems, we currently have over 6,000 P cards out in the field. People can go out and do whatever they want with it. And anybody that knows P cards, all you know is, okay, I've got 75 million in P card spend, but I have no idea what they bought. I know who bought it, when they bought it. So That's another challenge we have. So, and I know Richard didn't want, we were talking about this, but I came in and had a 1-year strategy, and I have a 3-year strategy. On the left side of the slide, the background, that's what I jokingly call that, the whole left side of the slide is BS. It's like before Scott. And then, so on the right side, as you'll see, once I got there, what I did to make us more efficient and provide more value for the company. I reorganized the staff by commodity. So we have individuals who are the subject matter experts for that commodity for the entire network. And then we also have backups. You know, it's part of what you've heard from a couple other speakers. You have to have talented individuals and trained individuals. And in my instance, we had people that had certain pockets of knowledge. So, you know, part of assigning them as subject matter experts and working with them is to train them so they can provide better service to our clients. Currently, we now have 90 contracts under management. We built an in-house contract management database in Salesforce that we're currently using. Last fiscal year, which ended September 30th, we had $58 million spent under management. We had I increased the savings target after redefining the savings, how you come up with it, to $3 million, and we actually hit over $5 million. And then, you know, and that's all without working on the systems. That's all process. That's all expertise. That's all team. And now the next step is looking at the system, you know, because we want to increase the spend under management, contracts under management, and the value that we provide to the network. And we currently use Oracle iProcurement, which is about 2 revisions old. One of the issues is it's server-based. So if you're not on our network, you can't get to it. And we have, with all of our locations, they may have internet access, but they're not on the network. So there's, you know, it can't reach them. Ease of use, it isn't there. It's very difficult to figure out. If you're in there every day, you definitely can navigate around it, know what you're doing. But with a 42% turnover, we're spending, you know, hours and hours of training people who may do half a dozen requisitions a year. Each time they need a requisition, they need to be trained. For adding new punch-out catalogs, we have to engage IT, bring in developers and programmers, and it's got a 2-month lead time. You know, so we negotiate a contract, and it takes 2 months to get it up and running so people can use it. The licenses itself are also based upon company revenue, not on the number of licenses. So if we were a smaller company, it would cost us less. I didn't sign it. And then the last thing is you know, if you have any of the approval workflow, what we call a systems enhancement request form. You have to bring in IT to be able to change your approval workflow. Even if somebody leaves the company, you get a new person in, they change the categories, it's not driven off our HR database. It's a standalone, and it requires a lot of extra work. Some of the pain points from the field are, it's slow. I can't figure it out. I don't know where to find it. And you know, one of the other items that kind of pushed me towards this direction is that there are no plans for us to upgrade. So it's live with everything you have now, or find a new solution. So I went out and started looking at all of the providers out there in this space, and here's a list of them. And we selected Zycus. And for some of the key points is, number one, most often, is ease of use. You know, as Richard talked about, you know, it's the Amazon buying with the Google search. People can go in, they can type in laptop, find what they want. It goes cross-catalog. There's nothing siloed, as well as you can put in non-catalog items. People could enter in, I want to buy from Joe down the street. All right, we'll type all Joe's information in, and now, you know, it'll go to a buyer, and they'll be able to address it for you. It was also because of the partnership that Zycus came to us because of the company's mission. A lot of these other providers didn't get it. You know, it's one where kind of looking at saying, okay, as I said, every dollar I can save goes to dollars for people to service in the field. And you know, we needed to have high-level commitment from Zycus in a partnership, which we do have, and you know, it's been working great so far. And probably the one thing that was definitely a benefit, especially when I talked to my CIO, is that Zycus is in that magic quadrant. So they're, you know, the leader in this area, which a lot of these other providers are considered niche players. Here, I wanted to show a kind of a screenshot of one of our early pages, where you can see that you have the categories on the left for the people to be able to find it easily. You have the punch-out catalogs at the bottom, and then you have the search bar, just like Amazon. You search for it, it comes up, you create your cart, and my goal was to get people in and out of the system in less than 5 clicks. Because anything more than that, they're going to just pick up the phone and put it on their P card, and that's not a solution. So currently where we are, we're actually going to be having a soft launch. We've got 87 users and approvers identified. We're going to be training them over the next couple weeks. We have our pilot, or the soft launch, starting on the 11th. We're hoping to go live 2 weeks after that. And then we have 40 suppliers in there, 3 punch-out catalogs. And the reason we have 3 punch-out catalogs is, these are for office supplies, medical supplies, and IT. So we have high volume. Everybody gets access to them. IT ties into fixed assets, so we're integrating with fixed assets. We also have multiple payment methods. We can pay by check, EFT, P card or Ghost card. And rather than having invoices submitted directly to accounts payable, the way we're designing the system is that everything's matched within the Zycus system. So you have your 3-way match, and it's identified as okay to pay, and there's going to be a payment feed directly into Oracle Financials, and nobody's going to have to touch it. It's just going to go right out the door. And you figure if I can eliminate, 20% of the 500 and some odd thousand invoices, I'm going to make a lot of people's lives easier. We also going to have a cost center feed in from Oracle. Every time they change the department numbers, which could happen on a daily basis, it's going to have pretty much real-time updates. So that way when people are going to order, there isn't going to be any kickouts or reconciliation problems because the department number is invalid or it's new and it hasn't shown up yet. We're also having full workflow, which one of the benefits was that we don't have to bring IT in the future to change workflow. My systems administrator can go in and just pull a few buttons, create like a Visio chart. Here's the workflow, test it, it's good, it's in place. And then we're also going to have custom reporting. As I said, for the individual CFOs, business directors, they want to do reports on their department, a particular general ledger account, a particular commodity. They're all going to have the ability to go in and do that themselves, whereas right now if they need it, they come to us and we have to take time out to, even though it's a value-added service, it isn't saving the company money. It's more for them to be able to document. And then after that, we're looking for a full rollout in Q2 of next year. So, right now, as I said, we're ready to go. I think it's an exciting product, and just wanted to open up if anyone had any questions.
Question back here.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Luther Harris from Texas Instruments. You've got a number of purchasing cards rolled out. Your user base is accustomed to using purchasing cards. You're now putting in something that's going to take away that ability to purchase whatever I want when I want it.
Right.
How are you going to address that with, with them having been accustomed to doing whatever they want?
Well, it's not the goal to eliminate all of the P cards. Because we have group homes, we need to have the operators be able, in the event of emergency, a refrigerator goes on the weekend. I have to get it fixed or I'm going to lose a whole refrigerator full of food. So we're not necessarily looking to eliminate them all. We're looking to reduce the number that people have, and down the line also restrict what commodities that they can use. It's for certain commodities, it's for emergencies. And part of, I said the challenge before, why they had the P cards is they had no access into Oracle. They couldn't get in to order the items, and they had to have something to get what they needed. So it's by limiting the number of cards, what people can do, as well as the other thing with difference between the cards and the P2P is P2P you get the approval on the front end. By the time you get it for the expense report on the back end, it's gone. It's like you can have anybody sign it. The money, it's already paid. And it may, in the way that I've been having discussions with the operating group management is we're going to give you the ability to plan. You're going to see what's coming down the line. You're not going to be shocked at a closing and find out, oh, I have all these invoices or expense reports that I'm surprised by. And surprisingly, it's being received very well. as long as I tell them I'm not going to get rid of them all. So.
Tiffany Riggenbach with NiSource Corporate Services, and my question is, from an invoicing perspective, you said that you won't be leveraging paper as much. Are you talking about using evaluated receipting, or what was your methodology there?
No, well, in the P2P platform, you have the three-way match, which is the PO, the invoice, and the receipt. What happens is we'll send the PO to the supplier who logs into the portal. I accept this, takes the exact image of it, put in your invoice number. So it eliminates quantity discrepancies, pricing discrepancies. If something is missing or the price is different, the supplier makes the change, sends it back through the portal, and then we can either accept it, it turns into a PO, they turn that into an invoice. Individuals can receive them either on their computer or on their mobile device. And then once we have that three-way match, it'll say stage for payment. It knows what the payment terms are, and the day before the payment terms, it'll automatically send it over to Oracle, and nobody has to touch it.
So when you were bringing together Oracle with, I guess, Zycus, was that a significant cost impact, or did you find a lot of difficulty bringing them together, or how did that work for you?
No, I don't. I think, unfortunately, with a lot of these large systems, ours, and I don't want to sit there and badmouth Oracle. Ours was just implemented badly. I mean, because everything I know from Oracle, having used it at other companies, it can do what we want. It's just at this point, we're so far down the line that we have to blow something completely up and start over. So we might as well start over with something that is more cost effective than Oracle. Anyone who pays maintenance on Oracle knows how expensive it is. So that was one. And also just the ability to have the visibility of that extra $75 million to spend to negotiate agreements. Because I know for a fact that we have people buying from the same company in multiple states, the same thing, all different prices, but I just can't prove it because I don't have the level 3 detail that I need to do that. And part of having it go in the front end is everything on the PO, I have the detail I need. It doesn't matter what the card's going to do, I just need to match the payment up to the PO line. I have all the detail to run reports. We're going to have, when individuals select certain items, it's going to hard code it. If you order an office supply, it's going to office supply, and you can't change that. If it gets to general ledger, finance can do whatever they want, but for my reporting purposes, the data will be clean.
Richard, I have a question for you, and it's regarding the customer interest in your P2P solution. So is it driven by procurement teams or accounts payable or both?
Yeah, great question, Gary. A question about where is the interest coming from, and certainly there are two P's in P2P. The first P, the procurement side, the second P, the payment, and we do see interest from both. But overall, I'd say it is a procurement-led initiative for the most part. Sometimes those groups report into the same function. They're reporting into finance. In some cases, I've encountered that, in which case the payment piece tends to be slightly more prominent. But I think overall, as you look at the whole process flow, organizations need to get a handle on the first P as the starting point, really get the ordering process in place, and then look at the payments side as well. But it's really coming across the board as primarily a procurement-led initiative.
Any other questions?
Hi, I'm
Hi.
Cheryl Love with Oklahoma Gas and Electric. Question I have is, what happens if you have multi-GLs that you're associated with? So in our company, an engineer could have 20 GLs that they're associated with. How do you handle that up in the cloud? Or
And
do
when
you have
are you talking when you put the
when you
request
put
in?
the
how to-
requisition in, yeah.
How to charge it? Well, that is, I mean, what's also very nice about the system is it's very flexible. If that's one of your requirements, you can do that. Like we're doing it right now with cost centers, or what we call aliases. If somebody can order from 20 of them, or their whole division, they'll see their whole division. They can just start typing in the department number, and it'll automatically fill in. But that's something that we don't have. I mean, we'll split out $1.78 to 15 different companies, cost centers, but we won't split it out to different general ledger accounts. And that's currently how it operates in Oracle right now, so I'm not going to open that can of worms.
Right, and you know, in terms of the whole user access controls, one view would be, you know, setting up a user profile that determines what GL accounts are valid for that user. But in addition, you can go the next step and say, what suppliers should that user have access to? What catalogs? What commodities? So it's a way to control spending and access from a user standpoint as well.
Hi. I'm from Calumet, San Antonio. My question is, can the system be utilized to request a service or just material?
No, we have it, but also for goods, services. You know, it really depends on what the product is and how you put it in there. We have it where there's a drop-down box where you can say this is an operating expense, this is a capital expense, this is a product, this is a service, and it's all configurable. But we have it where we can order anything, because majority of what procurement buys at Mentor and majority of what all the end users buy are products and services. It's all indirect. You know, there's no raw materials.
Yeah, and going back to the benchmark data, as I said, the top performers are only getting 23% of spend on catalogs. So that says the lion's share of spend is still going to be for things like services or non-standard products. So that's where the guided buying we think is so critical, is directing that user, since there isn't a catalog for them to easily point and click and select from, give them a guided form and a guided process to help them determine how to buy that particular service.
And also, just to add on that from another question, is that's also one of the, everybody out there, as we all know, all of our requisitioners, end users are the world-class buyers and purchasers. They can all do better than we can. So pulling away the P card from them, as you said, kind of takes away that control, but giving this guided buying still gives them, say, hey, you can get whatever you want, you just have to go through this process. So it still gives them, they're still in control, they can still pick it, they can put their own suppliers in. It's just changing how the order is going to get processed, and with minimizing the risk by putting the approvals and the reviews at the front end rather than at the back end when it's the horse has left the gate.
I have another question. Do you have inventory? And if so, is that still in your Oracle system and the whole purchase process?
No, we don't have inventory. What we do have is for some of our facilities for brain and spinal cord injuries, we have supplier managed inventory where they'll maintain our stock rooms, and as we use it, then they'll put an order through and pay for it.
But the idea here is if you do have inventoried items, that could be just like another supplier or another catalog on the system where you want to give the user access to what's available. Moreover, you can set up the workflow and the search engine to always present inventoried products first before they go outside to replenish something that's already available in inventory. But one way to look at it in this context is you're creating a one-stop shop. Internal inventory or stores is just another vendor in the shopping mall.
Yes.
You said that you have GL codes that will become categorized and get changed by accounting, and then you've also got your categorization. Can you expand on that to see if there were any challenges in reporting or reconciling, trying to prove your savings?
Well, I think from where we're going is it's going to make the data a lot cleaner, because people. So right now what happens is you have people that'll go into the current Oracle system to order office supplies, and they know, okay, here's the general ledger account I use for Office Depot. Then they'll go in and order a computer and like, oh, this is the general ledger account I know. So they'll put the office supply one because that's the only one they know, and it's difficult for them to try to look them up and figure it out. So what I meant is, if someone's buying a computer, it's going to put it as the natural account or GL account as computer. But if for some reason it needs to be reallocated on the back end by finance, they can do that, but it's after, it's in the Oracle financials and not in the P2P system. So my data is going to be clean, because we see it all the time now when we run reports. We look at it saying, oh, gee, there's just, here's travel. And like, why there, 20% of the spend is office supplies? Because that's the general ledger account that they knew when they were placing the order at the time.
And this is where the technology can remove the guesswork for the end user, who they don't really know how to categorize, or in some cases what the correct GL code is. So with the auto classification that we're using, by immediately assigning the category, we can map from that category code based on UNSPSC to the correct GL code. So that we can remove those keystrokes and the guesswork for the user. It's automatically defaulted. They can always override it if they need to edit it, but it really takes that out of the process, because as Scott said, they may say, I've got this one GL code that's good for anything I buy, and you end up with garbage data at the end of the day. So the auto classification from category mapping to GL code gives you much more accurate transactions.
Right, and it also cleans up the data because, it's, and I've personally seen instances where somebody needs to order a computer, but they don't have budget left in that one line, so they charge it somewhere else because they have money there. It's like, what are you doing? You're looking at the bottom line. So it's budgeting 101 that we're trying to also assist with. So we're very excited. We've got senior management at Mentor is getting updates every week. Where are we on this? Because it's physically going to transform the way we do business for everybody across the country. So next time, hopefully back here, we'll let you know how well we've done. Any more questions? Oh, I have one over here.
So just curious, you had mentioned that you're going to have the payment fee go to Oracle. So how are you going to handle the receipts? Because in indirect, that's not the cleanest thing to do. Are you going to primarily have most of the match be a two-way match, or are you going to have some three-way match? Or
well, I would say predominantly they're going to be three-way matches. There may be some two-way matches. And I look at two-way matches as office supplies. It's like I don't need everybody ordering office supplies to receive them because we have a catalog. It's a contracted supplier. They'll fix the problem, and it's high volume, low dollar, low risk. So 99.9% of the time when they order it, it'll get there. But for the most part, if services especially will be three-way, because you need somebody to come in, like the statement of work. Did you get what you were supposed to? And when they sign off on it, then the payment goes out. They don't sign off on it, nothing moves.
And
they're signing everything for all the three-way matching is done in Zycus, the P2P system. All we're doing is we're sending, once it's all matched, validated, and ready to go, it says ready for payment, it's just going to send a feed to Oracle Financials, and all it's going to do is say, take this payment information, cut a check, EFT it, charge it to a Ghost, it's going to come through on a Ghost card, however, it's set up for that supplier.
so are you planning to have your requisitioners do the receipt in the system?
Yes, whoever is on there, it's either, I think it's the requisition or an order on behalf of, and in that case, it's the order on behalf of that has to do it, and they'll get an email. They can do it from their computer. They can do it from their mobile phone. They can approve the requests. If there's an approver, they can approve it from their mobile phone. So, we're getting into that mobility where, you can see what the approval flow is, what the next person that's in line, and you can call them up and expedite it rather than calling procurement. He'll turn around and tell you, and then you call them again. But what it does is it gives everybody enough information to say, here's the status. You don't have to call procurement. You have it all right here in front of you.
Okay, great. And I know Scott will be available for any more questions if you want to grab him and find out the path they're on to reimagining P2P at the Mentor Network. So thank you all very much for your time this morning. Thank you, Scott.